share the link in the right order in the chat. Okay, good to go?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So first of all, nice to meet you. I joined it a bit late. My name is Tiziana and I work for a company called SeedStars. Essentially what we are is that we are an ecosystem enabler for entrepreneurs and a venture capital investor. What does that mean? We help entrepreneurs on emerging market to structure their business models, and then we invest in the type of companies that we see. What we quickly realize is that the actual key point for a lot of companies, including ourselves, is to find the right talent. So we ventured into building digital talent incubators. So you can imagine it as universities that teach entrepreneurship and tech at the same time. But what we came to the conclusion that we got to while creating those schools across the globe for now in Ivory Coast, South Africa, and India, is that the financing of education is a key problem. So we try to look into how can we smoothen the financing of education for people who do not have access to it. And one of the key solutions out there are income share agreements. Income share agreements is essentially the fact of pre-financing the education. So we finance the education of the talent, and then once they get a decent paying job, they start reimbursing, let's say 14% of their income over a predefined period of time. Now that process is very lengthy, does not have a lot of transparency between the talent who receives the funds, the education provider, and the person pre-financing the education. So our idea and the proposal that we are presenting to you today as a returning proposer to the Cardano Catalyst is to put all of that process of tokenizing income shares on chain to essentially increase the transparency and the smoothness of the process, including the recollection of the funds, which obviously is the key point. The first proposal we submitted is about doing a research around that use case, make sure that we understand very well all the bottlenecks in terms of the traditional income shares that are already out there in the market, though not super present, and especially not in the markets that we tackle, so emerging markets. So number one, researching that side of the market, and number two, researching in terms of in technical terms, how can we best transpose that process on chain? So that's very much the tech and operational aspect of it. So that's what we're proposing. And to do this, we are joined by amazing organization. I'm not very objective when saying that. Proof Space, what they do is essentially GIDs. By Smart Chain, they build blockchain solutions. And by Chance and International, a traditional income share agreement provider. Thank you.
Very good, very good. And now for the second proposal.
Yeah, gonna be very much the same thing. Do you want me to recap the background of the project, or should I jump straight into like what we actually do with the second proposal?
Yeah, and actually it's easier if you start again, because then editor just has like 5 minutes less work to do.
Sounds good. I'll do it again. Small alterations. You give me the go.
You can go.
Yeah, okay. So hi again, this is Tiziana again from SeedStars. So what does SeedStars do? Essentially, we work with tech startups, tech entrepreneurs on emerging markets and try to improve their capacity as an entrepreneur. So we help them structure their revenue streams, their business models, etc. We do this across 75 countries on 5 continents. And on top of that, we are also a venture capital firm. So we have various funds through which we invest at very early stage, pre-seed and seed into tech startups. One of the key learnings of 10 years on the market for us is that the key issue for the companies that we work with is the access to talent. So where do we find talent? And the question is actually not so much where do we find talent, but more so how do we create talent? And so we decided to take that challenge and go straight into it and build digital talent incubators that we call SeedStars Academies, and that we are launching in Ivory Coast, South Africa, and India for starts. But don't worry, we're dreaming much bigger than that. And essentially, these are schools where we aim to teach entrepreneurship and tech at the same time. Now, while launching these schools, we came to a big problem, a big hinderer of launching those universities, essentially. which is that we do not see access to education easily financed. What does it mean? Essentially, talents do not have the financial means to access quality education. So we looked into the possible solutions for talent to self-finance their education when the governments are not there to support, which is not always the case. And one of the key products out there in the market, more so in developed markets, are income share agreements. So essentially the process of having somebody paying upfront for the education of a talent and a talent repaying their education once they get a job. So let's say, once you get a decent paying job, you repay 14% of your income for a given time period. Now, the challenge with this is the lack of transparency amongst all the stakeholders involved, from the talent to the school to the income to the education to the person financing the education. And putting it on chain is a way to augment, of course, the smoothness of the process and the transparency of it. And so what we are proposing as a returning proposer here, together with other co-proposers, Proofspace, they do DIDs, CardaShift, a Cardano native launchpad, is to essentially do a proof of concept of tokenizing those income share agreements, putting them on chain, creating digital identities for every single stakeholders, and essentially wrapping this all up into an agreement smart contract. Thanks a lot, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Very nice. Yes. So